Alrighty, so the story I have for today, this revolves around bail reform. Sorry, I gotta mute my phone. I forgot. I'm a pro. Um, this folks around bail reform. Bail reform is something that's been a real hot topic here lately. And in the state of Ohio, the headline at least says, tough on crime Republicans want voters to change the Ohio Constitution on bail rules. The reason for this is because there was a recent Ohio Supreme Court decision on bail reform and how much money judges are allowed to hold over someone's head before they get out on trial. One of the reasons that this stuff is being proposed and in reaction to that other decision, which I'll go over in a minute, but I just wanted to, I did a quick Google search where it says suspect out on bail. And there's no shortage of examples of people who were out on bail that committed another serious offense. Let's see, here's one from Columbus, Ohio. The suspect in the 71 shooting. That was like an ad or something. But a little excerpt from it, it says the 71 shooting suspect was free on bail despite multiple felony cases. There might be lessons for a city whacked by, and I'm pretty sure it said by, gun violence. There's also why Wisconsin parade suspect Darrell Brooks Jr. was out on bail. That's the guy that drove his vehicle into a Christmas parade, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, he drove his SUV into a Christmas parade, killing 8 people. These are people who had been charged with serious crimes and been let out on bail. I saw another one, and I'm not cherry picking these. I literally just Google searched it. Here was Sacramento shooting suspect is released on $500,000 bond as cops say a brawl that led to 6 people being killed was gang related and involved 5 gunmen. So here's a gang related shooting where 6 people were killed and one of the gunmen was released on $500,000 bond. These are things that have a lot of people very concerned. Let's get into the story here. So this reporter has a little bit of a bias, and I'm going to try to skip over some of that, but it is what it is. It says, unhappy with a recent ruling from the Ohio Supreme Court, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost of Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters and other tough on crime Republicans want to change the state constitution and make it easier to keep people behind bars until trial or until a plea deal. Yeah. The proposed constitutional amendment. So that's what they're doing. They've proposed a constitutional amendment because a previous high bail, which we'll get into in a minute, was declared unconstitutional. So if it was unconstitutional and you want that kind of stuff to stand, you have to actually propose a constitutional amendment. That's what they're doing here. And this could be placed on the ballot in November. It says that setting bail amounts, courts must consider public safety, a person's criminal record, and the likelihood the defendant will show up in court and the seriousness of the offense. The whole goal here is to make Ohio more safe. That's the bottom line, said Dieters in a press conference. Victims deserve to know they're going to be safe from the criminals who have abused them. And that's from Senator Teresa Gavarone of Bowling Green. And then I want to get down to the reason that this is here. The push to change the Constitution comes after a 4-3 ruling from the Ohio Supreme Court in January on whether a $1.5 million bail in a Hamilton County murder case was excessive. Justin Du Bois was charged in a July 18, 2020 shooting death of Sean Green in this township. At the hearing in November 2020, Du Bois' attorney asked for a reasonable bail, citing that he had community ties, limited financial resources, and a lack of a criminal record. The judge issued a $1.5 million bail. This is a case where they then appealed and were granted a $500,000 bail. And then when the victim's family heard about it, a $1.5 million bail was reinstated. They took it to the Ohio Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court says a judge shall release a defendant on the least restrictive conditions that will reasonably assure the defendant's appearance in court. The High Court said that Green's family's safety concerns could be easily addressed by imposing non-financial conditions such as restrictions on travel and no contact orders. That's kind of funny, because that's just not going to stop a murder suspect from murdering somebody. Public safety, although of the utmost importance, is not a factor relevant to the calculation of a bail amount, the opinion states. A court may not impose excessive bail for the purpose of keeping the accused in jail. So that is why they are changed. They're literally putting it in the state constitution that public safety should be a determining factor on whether or not somebody gets out on bail. Another thing that I heard, it was described to me by one of my department's legal advisors, was that this ruling does not say that you can't hold dangerous people from the public. It just says that the bail has to be reasonable. And it also said in the opinion, which I don't have a copy of in front of me, I'm a little short on time today, but it said in the opinion that you don't have to give somebody a bail amount. So if you have a very dangerous offender, someone who has, let's say, committed a shooting, paid their bond, and then 6 months later did another shooting, a judge might be able to look at that person and say, you know what? You don't get a bond. We're going to hold you until trial because you are too much of a danger to society. These are historically have been rare occurrences, most commonly with like very, very major crimes. I think like serial killers and stuff like that. But the Supreme Court didn't say anything about that. So in my opinion, if I were a judge who was concerned about the safety of the public and I had a repeat offender, I would be just saying, look, this guy's too dangerous to be released. I'm not going to issue him a bond. And I would hold that person until trial. You have to weigh the evidence and all that other stuff when you're making that decision. Because while we are determined to be or considered to be innocent until proven guilty, I think everybody knows that there are some people who, you know, like if they're caught red-handed, like if it's literally on camera that one person is shooting another person, it's an open and shut case. They're going to be found guilty. You know, we will hold that person until trial. That's my take on things. There's no difference between issuing somebody a $1 million bond or a $1.5 million bond or a $3 million bond. What you're effectively doing is saying, I'm going to issue an amount of money that's so high this person's not going to get out. And the Supreme Court has said, if you don't want that person to get out, just don't issue him a bond. But regardless of that, I think also judges are reluctant to say no bond on this case. There might be other reasons for that. I'm not really sure, other than possibly political. But what this constitutional amendment would do would give a judge the opportunity to say, look, this person has a very severe criminal past. They've committed multiple violent felonies, of which they have not yet stood trial for. And this person keeps getting wrapped up in this kind of activity. I think this is a very dangerous person. And in order to ensure that they come back to court, we're going to issue a very high dollar amount on their release. That might be something a judge is more likely to do rather than just say, no, I'm going to hold that person without bail. So I don't know. I haven't seen this really discussed with a lot of people. I thought I would bring it up for you. And I'm curious of what your opinions are. Let me know down in the comments below if you were aware of this and if you think it's necessary to have a constitutional amendment like this, or if you just think that judges perhaps should just stop issuing bonds in general to people that the prosecutor can make a very strong claim are a danger to society. I think those are going to be my thoughts for today. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.